And everyone's come back, well, the bond market, the bond market is the most liquid and deep, and this, oh crap already with the bond market. The bond market's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm going to read some stuff to you about that. But how's it done over the last year and a half with the bond market? And do you know that there's a deal right now going on? Well, let me get to the bond market in a moment, because it's a big part of everyone's pushback against the Brics. Oh, the bond market, the bond market, the bond market. Part of the reason they they say that is the petro deal. The proceeds of all the money that was paid in dollars for oil, the excess goes into the bonds. Well, who's been selling the bonds? Oh, that's right. That's those countries. And what have they been doing with it? Well, they've been buying more gold than at any time ever. And so as they shed bonds, they're buying gold, which has not only massively outperformed the bond market over the last decade, massively, but has no counterparty liability like sanction and confiscation risk, no default risk. As Doug Casey has always said, it is an asset that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. They are replacing bond holdings with gold holdings. They are replacing dollar settlement with local currency settlement. In essence, it is a new currency without it being a new currency. Every other country in the world just about has remonetized gold already. It is remonetizing. It is taking on a different viewpoint.
Andy Schectman sheds light on the tactics employed by Brics nations to potentially undermine the US economy. With evidence suggesting a shift towards transparent and cash-based markets, Schectman suggests that Brics countries are strategically leveraging local currencies for trade settlements, reducing reliance on the US dollar. This move, combined with a significant accumulation of gold and silver, challenges the dominance of the dollar and traditional bond markets. Schectman argues that these actions pose a threat to the stability of the US economy and highlight a growing trend towards alternative economic structures.
In order for a new system to work, it will have to be transparent. It will have to be fairly priced. It'll have to be more of a cash and carry market. So when they were deciding how do we design the COMEX, if they made it a cash and carry market, the price of gold and silver would be much, much higher, and the price of the dollar would be much, much lower, just supply-demand fundamentals. Instead, they decided to make it highly leveraged, where multiple claims on a contract, you don't even have to pay for it. You can make believe to pay for it by having money in your margin account. And so this created an environment of tremendous leverage and rehypothecation. If it's a cash and carry market, largely like the Shanghai Exchange is, they do have a futures component, but it is largely cash and carry. Then the supply-demand fundamentals come into place. You know, I guess it kind of bothers me that there are a lot of people out there that I think are probably even smarter than me, that I respect a lot, that dismiss entirely the concept of the Brics. Everyone focuses too much on the common settlement currency. That is a mistake. It will happen when the time is right. Look, 36 more countries have formally applied. You're talking 46 countries potentially. They probably won't all make it, but north of 40, maybe 50. Who knows how many countries are admitted in October? You're talking the majority of human population, larger swath of global GDP already, most of the rare earth commodities, most of the precious metals, they control everything you need, more of it than the West does, and not to mention bigger military might by far, 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenals, all of that stuff. People focus too much on the common currency because what they have been doing. And this is why there's such a rush for gold, because I believe they need the gold to transact business now cross borders. So I'm going to give you a few examples. But what they've been doing is trading in local currencies. Like example, Brazil, the second largest exporter of corn in the world, is now selling corn and soybeans to China for yuan, and probably taking that yuan and converting it into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange for immediate cash and carry. They get kilo bars of gold sent to them. So you don't need, so with all of these countries using their own currency for settlement, or the deal that Iran struck with China to modernize their biggest airport, they're paying for it in oil. They're not paying for it in dollars. So all of these deals that are being set with local currencies chips away at the settlement value of the dollar. And everyone's come back, well, the bond market, the bond market is the most liquid and deep. And this bull crap already with the bond market. The bond market's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm going to read some stuff to you about that. But how's it done over the last year and a half? With the bond market. And you know that there's a deal right now going on. Well, let me get to the bond market in a moment, because it's a big part of everyone's pushback against the Brics. Oh, the bond market, the bond market, the bond market. Part of the reason they they say that is the petro deal. The proceeds of all the money that was paid in dollars for oil, the excess goes into the bonds. Well, who's been selling the bonds? Oh, that's right. That's those countries. And what have they been doing with it? Well, they've been buying more gold than at any time ever. And so as they shed bonds, they're buying gold, which has not only massively outperformed the bond market over the last decade, massively, but has no counterparty liability like sanction and confiscation risk, no default risk. As Doug Casey has always said, it is an asset that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. They are replacing bond holdings with gold holdings. They are replacing dollar settlement with local currency settlement. In essence, it is a new currency without it being a new currency. Every other country in the world just about has remonetized gold already. It is remonetizing. It is taking on a different viewpoint. But when we talk about the bond market, which has been just a joke recently, as we know, I want to read to you something that is deplorable, and not enough people are talking about this, but here it is right here. Okay, so I'm going to read it straight up. The International Swaps and Derivatives Association, ISDA, is writing to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency to urge the agencies to implement targeted reforms to the supplementary leverage ratio, the SLR, and enhanced supplementary leverage ratio framework. Blah, blah, blah. It says it calls for the exclusion of on-balance sheet U.S. treasuries. In other words, what they're trying to do is say, you can load up on as many treasuries as you want. It's not going to be included in the leverage ratio. Well, how did that work over the last couple of years with the banks who loaded up on treasuries and then interest rates went up and it put banks out of business and has a whole bunch more teetering, or the insurance companies teetering with these toxic bonds? And so basically what they are saying is the reform is seen as crucial to preserve the resilience of the U.S. Treasury markets, the U.S. economy, and the international financial system at large. The bond market's a bunch of crap. And it's hanging on by a thread. And the rest of the people in the world see it for what it is. It is a tool of suppression. It is a tool of the ability of the West to run sanctions and to confiscate. As Janet Yellen said in Brazil, we need to confiscate this money and use it to fund the Ukrainian war effort. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, the rest of the world says, why the hell would we ever buy these bonds when this is happening, when they can, not only when they can take our money and freeze it and sanction it, but it's performed horribly. It has all of these risks, including, default risk. None of that applies to gold, and the rest of the world is accepting gold and accumulating gold, which is what? Oh yeah, the only other tier one asset. And they've lost control of the pricing, so much so that China and their market is willing to pay a 10% premium for any silver that the West is stupid enough to give away. And one other thing, when we talk about the ability to trade with one another, a lot of stuff happens and no one is hearing about it.
In this continuation of Andy Schectman's insights, he delves deeper into the ramifications of the shifting global economic landscape. Highlighting the significance of China's Belt and Road Initiative and the launch of a blockchain infrastructure platform, Schectman emphasizes the diminishing reliance on traditional financial systems dominated by the US dollar. He argues that the refusal of nations to embrace dollar settlement, coupled with the accumulation of gold, poses a fundamental challenge to the dollar's hegemony. Schectman underscores the geopolitical and economic implications of these developments, urging us to acknowledge the paradigm shift unfolding before them.
The Chinese Belt, Road, and Rail Initiative, the largest infrastructure project in human history, 75% of human population, north of 50% of global GDP already. How many people have heard this? Probably no one. Here we go. The Chinese government has just launched a new public blockchain infrastructure platform led by the Confluence network. The platform, dubbed Ultra Large Scale Blockchain Infrastructure Platform for the Belt and Road Initiative, aims to offer an underlying public blockchain for cross-border applications, according to an April 1st post by the Confluence network. The main focus of the project is to create a public blockchain infrastructure platform that will be able to support the implementation of cross-border cooperation projects along the Belt and Road Initiative. What did we just see in late 2023? The first ever cross-border digital gold trade using the digital yuan. So when people talk about the SWIFT and the dollar and the bond market, they are just macro trends. People at the very end hang on too long. And this is going to create, I believe, a religious experience for these people who believe that this can't happen, that the West can never. Look at all the stuff that the West has done that you look and say to yourself, I never in my life thought I would see anything like this in this country. And yet it's all around us. Everywhere we look, socially, morally, economically, religiously, politically, geopolitically, everywhere we look. And then look at the ridiculous behavior around the world we have, weaponizing the dollar and behaving the way that we do in a very hypocritical manner, according to the rest of the world. But yet this can never happen. It's such a mistake to believe this can never happen, focusing on the bond market, the bond market. The bond market's a joke, and these people know it. They know it. And if you ask me, there's a damn good chance that the bonds are rehypothecated just like the gold is too. And this is the rallying cry. And so these countries don't need a common settlement currency right now today that everyone focuses on to disrupt the apple cart. No, you trade with one another in local currencies and you accumulate as much gold as you can. And you are then destroying little by little by little by little the settlement status of the dollar, and little by little by little by little the reserve status of the dollar when you exchange treasuries for gold. And I'll tell you what, it's happening. And this goes right back into what I was saying about why it's different this time. The world does not want our bonds and our dollars, not so much because of its performance or lackluster performance, but more so because we have proven to the world that if we do not align ideologically with you, you're in trouble. That was the death knell of the dollar. And that's why I keep coming back to the fact, is it too stupid to be stupid? It's planned. And, look, Dunning, and I don't know, man. I just try and put it all together. But when I put it together, it just red lights are flashing. Like, how the hell could this happen? Are they that stupid? No, there's no way they're that stupid. And it's just the same way, like letting the border be wide open. Are they that stupid? Or could they? No, they're not that stupid, but they're that awful. And I think people need to wake up. And the people who I respect a lot, I'm not going to mention names. I'm sure people know who I'm talking. These are people that have done more for me and I love and I care about, and I think they're great. But to focus simply upon recency and normalcy bias and the fact that the bond market is liquid and there isn't anything like it and the dollar is everywhere, so what? Everything comes to an end at some point. And to not embrace and realize what is happening right in front of you is just like going to court with your attorney and you're being falsely accused of murder. And your attorney said, we don't need to know the plaintiff's argument. We just need to know your argument. And by not looking at the other side with an open mind, I believe will be a very, very, very bad decision by a lot of these people in the end when it happens.
In today's discussion, we've explored the profound insights shared by Andy Schectman, shedding light on the evolving global financial landscape. From the necessity of transparency and fair pricing in new systems to the significant shifts observed in gold accumulation and cross-border transactions, we've glimpsed into the intricate dynamics shaping the world economy. It's evident that geopolitical factors are playing a pivotal role in challenging the traditional dominance of the US dollar and bond markets. Your engagement in these discussions is invaluable. We appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more insightful analyses. If you found this video informative, please consider giving it a like and sharing your thoughts in the comments below.